Alright, now that all those early finishes are out of the way, it's time for the fall season proper. A couple notes before we jump in. As usual, we've got our end caps here, although I'll be honest, I struggled a little bit with this one, with this season, because there's not a lot of, like, super big heavy hitters this season that are ending this season. Most of those are continuing into next year, like Shangri-La Frontier and Blue Box and all that. So our end caps for now are Dan Da Dan, second season of Sengoku Yoko, 365 Days to the Wedding, and Bleach, Thousand Year Blood War Part 3. Also, I'm recording this on the 20th, no, not the 27th, the 17th right now, so I don't know if Ranma 1/2 and Dragon Ball Daima are ending this season. I'm pretty sure Daima is not ending this season, so we don't have to worry about that. But I think Ranma is going to end this season. At least the first core is going to end, then it's probably going to be on a break. If it does, I'm probably going to swap out 365 Days with Ranma as like the end cap, and then just bump that one into the random stuff. Aside from that, my expected minimum finishes for this season are 11 shows, and that's including the 11 that we've already I think there's like 7 that I've already finished so far, and my expected maximum is going to be 20. So we'll see where we land in that regard. Honestly, I don't have a lot of hopes for this season. Not a lot of stuff being talked about, but you know what? You never know. You never know. So, we got 27 randoms to start with. So let's hop on over to the random number generator and see what we get. It is 23. What is 23? The most notorious talker. I've heard this one's like an edgy isekai kind of thing, or maybe just an edgy fantasy show. And I didn't even write out the full title because it was so fucking long, so, I'm gonna fucking love this show, I guess. Alright, what a way to start. Let's go. I see we're already starting off with some grade A, rank-ass horse shit. That was terrible. I got like a third of the way through the first episode of The Most Notorious Talker or something. I didn't even bother to learn the whole title of this thing. This sucks shit. It's another one of those in the category of, it's a fantasy anime where the main character has a very like specific skill that everyone thinks is like weak or useless or something, but actually he's like super strong. And I fucking hate this subgenre because it's never good. I understand the purpose of this subgenre. I talked about it last season, I believe, where it's basically like, it's supposed to be like a critique of like educational systems and like jobs and like employment and stuff, where it's like, it's the fucking Einstein quote, ask a fish to climb a tree, whatever. So I understand that is what this entire subgenre is, but it's always bad at doing that, especially in this case, because it picks a skill that is very obviously super fucking useful. So, okay. So in this one, this thing is like, if we're going by like D&D logic, because all these are fucking based on D&D now, this guy's class is what's called a talker, which is basically a bard, but without the music, and he just says stuff. Like, he can't attack himself. He can't, like, do attacks himself, but he can buff everyone else up, and, like, this class is supposed to be, like, looked down on because they are, like, physically weak and can't really protect themselves all that much, but I don't know. Have you played D&D recently? Because the bard is super fucking useful for everyone involved. Like, let alone the bard himself. Like, yes, bards can attack in D&D, but the bards are much more useful for the rest of the party. It's... You don't understand the system that you're trying to use. Oh my fucking god. It's literally just a bard. It's just a bard, but he can't attack. Except he can attack because he has a fucking gun. He just pulls a fucking revolver out of his pocket when he's getting hit by like a gas attack. So, he's a gunslinger as well, which is also a class which you would know if you actually knew what the... I'm not even that big of a D&D guy. I'm more of a Pathfinder guy, actually, but I'm not even that big of an TTRPG kind of guy. I'm not that into that stuff. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I know that much. God, I cannot believe the first random in this video is making me rage so fucking hard. Oh my god, this show is so fucking stupid. Also, it's like edgy, but like not fun. It's a really bland kind of edgy. Like I saw like, but it's been a while since I've seen a blood pinata. Let's put it that way. But it was they're really lame blood pinatas. They're not cool looking. At the very least, I got a preview of what the Ubelblatt anime is going to look like. God, I'm so depressed that anime is going to look like shit. I've seen the trailers for it and it looks terrible. But it kind of looks like that. This show kind of looks like those trailers, but with like less purple, I guess, and more red. God, this show sucks. Okay, most notorious talker coming off the list. First elimination of the random stuff for this season. Let's crank down the number generator and see what we get next. It's going to be 8. What is 8? I'll become a villainess who goes down in history. I think I heard people talking about this one. I assume it's part of the Villainess subgenre, like the Otome game Villainess thing. I know literally nothing else about it, so let's give it a shot. Alright, well this is definitely a first for the seasonal wrap-up show, because I got through almost all of I'll Become a Villainess Who Goes Down in History, by which I mean I forgot to check when this show was ending, so I got through all of the episodes that were out and then realized that the final episode doesn't come out for another 5 days. So, this one's a completion. I just haven't gotten to the final episode yet because it's not out. So, I'll cut that in at the end, but I want to record everything for the first 12 episodes now because I don't want to forget everything by the time that final episode drops. So this is another of the, in the subgenre of villainous anime, so like Otome game, I get reincarnated as the villainous subgenre, which I believe started with Hamefura. I can't say that definitively, but I'm fairly certain it did. I have been watching every seasonal anime since since like 2016, so if it happened before that, I can't say for sure, but I'm fairly certain it was Hamefura that started that. And to be honest, it's not a genre that I think is particularly good. Or rather, it's not a genre that I think has a lot of good entries in it. Because, like, it's Hamefura, really the first season of Hamefura. The second season was and Seventh Time Loop, which I would barely call a villainous anime at all because she does not, like, partake in the role of villainous in any way in that show, except for, like, literally, like, the first, for, like, a minute of it. So I don't really count that one. But anyway, I'll Become a Villainess Who Goes Down in History. Sure, there's a shortened version of the title that I'll find eventually, but for now, it's a goddamn mouthful. But you know what? It was entertaining, which I wasn't exactly sure it was going to be when it first began. It has a very odd premise. Not odd, but it has it sort of takes you off guard with its premise of this girl reincarnates as the villainess, and she actually wants to be the villainess. And so she decides to act in a way that she deems to be villainous enough to be the best villainess of all time. So, very, like, it kind of doesn't make sense until you, like, see it in action, because it's a lot like, how, if you've seen I'm in Love with the Villainess, it's kind of like how Ray sees Claire in that she's, like, obsessed with Claire because, like, yes, she's a villainess, but Ray sees through that to see, like, all the good qualities about her, like how she doesn't delegate any of her bullying and whatnot, and, like, she maintains her, like, pride as a noble and whatnot. So, it's kind of like if Ray got reincarnated as the villainess and then decided to be the best villainess she could be. So, there are a lot of layers to how this is set up, and it's God. See, I also watched this over like 3 days, so even like the beginnings of the show, which I think are the worst part, at least until the final episode, because the cliffhanger in the penultimate episode is pissed me off a bit, but I guess we'll get to that later. But it's real, like, touch and go in the beginning with, like, how much stuff actually makes sense. I do wonder if I rewatch those first few episodes, if I'll see them in a new light, because I kind of understand what the show is doing now. But, like, it's not that they weren't entertaining for those first episodes. It just, like, it felt a little too easy at times for our villainous character, Alicia, where it's just like she's just, like, she is quite literally reading books faster than it is, like, physically possible to comprehend reading a book. Obviously, it's a fantasy world inside of an Otome game, so I gave it, like, leniency for that, but it's still like, okay, she's getting the boost up front because this is still an isekai, so you have to make the main character overpowered. Also, this is a Maho Films anime. You have heard me complain plenty about Maho Films over the course of the seasonal wrap-up show. And I think this might actually be the first Maho Films anime that I've finished, as far as I know. Because a lot of the other ones were kind of terrible. And this isn't even the first time that Maho Films has done a villainous anime. Like, this, they also did, what was it? I'm a Villainess, So I'm Taming the Final Boss. That one that I watched one episode of and thought was kind of boring. Same director as that one, too. I sort of was, like, browsing the Maho Films filmography on Wikipedia. And I think this director is getting better. Not by much, because this show is very, very, very plain looking. There is nothing interesting looking at all about the show aside from Alicia's many character designs. By many, I mean A, the different outfits, and B, this covers the span of about 8 years of her life. So she goes from Lolly Alicia to 15-year-old Alicia. That was another thing that gave me a bit of an ick when this show started. Is yes, she sort of she reincarnates as like a 7-year-old, and I don't know this for certain, but based on all of the ages of everyone else, I have to assume this. I could be wrong, but almost immediately upon meeting the Prince Duke, he seems to develop a crush on her, or at least develop interest in her. And I'm fairly certain the age gap is 5 years. So when she was 7, he was 12. When she was 13, which she is for a decent chunk of the show's run, he was 18. And also, when she was 10, which she is for a decent chunk of the show's run, he was 15. Now, it could be as low as a 3-year age gap, but I don't think that's the case, because they say that none of this, the ages, that's one of the things that really threw me off about the intro, is that there's no clear layout of the ages for the characters, because it's cause I'm having to do math, because it's I think she's 5 years younger than the oldest brother, who I think is the same age as the heroine, Liz, and I'm pretty sure the prince is the same age as the older brother. But also, there's a pair of younger brothers in between the older brother and and Alicia. But they don't say how old those brothers are, and those brothers hang out with the main group of people all the time. So either it's a 3-year age gap, in which, fine, I guess, or it's a 5-year age gap, in which case, that's kind of weird. If we're going by the half your age plus 7 rule, which I've heard thrown around a lot, that it's weird. It's kind of weird. I don't know, because especially when she's really young, and the prince is clearly a mid to late teenager, and it's what are we doing here? Now, granted, she did have a really great design. I'm not going to throw shade on that. Pretty much all of Alicia's designs across all age ranges are fucking great. Especially I really like her sword practicing outfit, if that makes something about that one just really stuck with me. I just thought that was really nice looking. But right, I was talking about Maho films. Most of the show looks either just plain average or really not good. It's got sort of the, what would you call that? Just where how sometimes when the animation for a show is bad, a piece, an object will just sort of slide across the screen very awkwardly. There are quite a few moments of that. So pretty much the only thing in the show that looks good is Alicia's character design, which, to be fair, I think is the most important thing to get right, and they nail it pretty much every time. Oh, and another thing that annoyed me about this show, especially in the beginning, but I sort of got used to it as it went on. Okay, so it's very clearly based on a Western style setting, like most otome games are, like Hamifura and I'm in love with the Villainess, and all of that. Now, most of the time when they do that, they stick with Western name ordering. So, in English, if her name is Alicia Williams, normally what this genre of show does is they go with the Western name ordering. They will call her Alicia Williams, or whatever the Japanese pronunciation is. But this one goes with Japanese name ordering. So they do the surname first and then the given name. So it's Williams Alicia. Most of the time they say it for the heroine character, whose name is Liz Cather. So they call her Cather Liz, and it just doesn't sound right in my head. It just does not sound right. Because I'm so used to these shows doing the Western name orientation. So there's nothing technically wrong with that other than it is not observing something about the genre that is sort of inherent to the genre, in that the genre is like, has much more, like, in terms of like the surface level aesthetics, they're very Western. At least in, not really, but you get what I'm saying. It's weird that this one is sort of bucking the trend, and it just throws me off because my brain cannot like get it right for some reason. So anyway, aside from all that, I actually really kind of enjoyed this show, especially once it really got going with the interactions between Alicia and Liz, our heroine type character, because the show starts with the isekai soul saying like that they hate that the heroine character gets everything so easily, like everything comes so easily to them just by being nice and having like very lofty ideals about cooperation and like getting along with everybody. And I found that very interesting because it is to go into another genre, it is critiquing talk no jutsu, for lack of a better term. It is critiquing this idea of we can just all get along. Everything will be fine if we just talk to each other. And Alicia just comes in and is like, no, that's not how this works, you dumb bitch. You got a plan, you got an action plan, you got a list of specific details on how you're gonna talk this out, or are you just gonna be try and be buddy with everybody? And she's just there constantly poking holes in all of Liz's arguments and stuff. And so that, I thought, was a very great use of the I want to be the Villainess type thing. I like that it is motivated by the fact that the person who reincarnated as Alicia hates the game's protagonist for being A, kind of personalityless, and B, just like, but more so B, always getting what she wants with like very minimal effort and thinking, which motivates her to be the best villainess that she can by like learning as much as possible, training as much as possible, learning as much magic as possible. So I really enjoyed that. And once we get into sort of like the last third of this show, where it's like it's revealed that the lore for this show is that the heroine character is referred to as the saint who is going to lead this kingdom to salvation. and it's sort of revealed that the Saint character has a unique skill, magic skill called Charm, where she basically just gets everyone to agree with her and fall in love with her and so on and so forth. And so they're I like that is they gave an in-universe manifestation of what now I'm going to say what I presume happens in a lot of these Otome games, because I haven't ever played an Otome game, so I can't say for certain that this is what happens. Based on this is so weird and so anime that I am getting essentially third-hand knowledge about a medium that I have never played, that I have never interacted with, and I'm just being told has these tropes, and that this show is being a critique of those tropes. God, anime is so fascinating in that regard. Isn't that cool? I'm sorry, I'm getting sidetracked, but isn't that interesting that it is being a it is interesting, and also a little concerning, I guess, in terms of it is convinced me that this is a trope in Otome games. I don't know for certain that it is, but based on a lot of the Villainess anime that I've seen, that pops up a lot. So I have to trust in their word on it, because I'm never going to play an Otome game. That's not my genre of stuff. I don't play visual novels in general. I did one route of Katawa Shoujo a decade ago, actually more than a decade ago now, and that's it. I'll probably read Umineko at some point, just so I can know what the fuck that damn thing is about, since everyone seems to love it. But dating sims, not really my thing, which I think Otome games sort of fall into. I think they're... Anyway. I do... So that, I guess, brings us to the character of Liz, who is... on the one hand, hollow enough to be a good critique of the archetype that this anime wants to critique, but also sentient enough to be a vaguely interesting character. She's not completely fucking stupid, and she's not completely unaware of what's happening. She is genuinely trying to figure out how to get everyone to get along, and how to get Alicia to like her, but she just doesn't fully understand it. She's just not smart enough or not self-aware enough to understand it, but in a believable way. This daughter of a commoner baker who thinks that she's just been lucky her whole life, but actually it's because she has this magic skill that makes everyone like her. And we see instances of that trope, of that skill running out of control without her realizing it, and causing other students to do absolutely insane shit, like kidnapping Alicia, or turning these cliques of bullies on other students and stuff. So it's very interesting. That's very interesting. Why did I think of Cannibal the Musical just now? Whatever. Not a whole lot going on besides... Well, actually, that's not true. In terms of characterization, there's not a whole lot going on besides those two. Like, the Prince character is fine. He doesn't have a whole lot to him other than being the Prince character, but the way that he interacts with both Alicia and Liz is very interesting. And we actually get like a confirmed like romance between him and Alicia. Like, I like that as Alicia takes more and more of the spotlight away from Liz, she essentially becomes the heroine of sorts. Not necessarily the heroine, but she becomes the main character of this world. And so she takes away the romance option of the prince from Liz. Not on purpose, it just happens because she's just a fun person to be around and an interesting person. And the prince just takes to her very well. So I like that. I like that there is... I kind of like the lore of this world. It is politically more interesting than I was expecting it to be. Let's put it that way. It has more going on than I was expecting in terms of like different political relations with other countries, relations amongst the different nobles and stuff. Magic system could definitely use some work though, because does not make any goddamn sense whatsoever. So like it's based on like the like sort of like the penta elemental thing. We got earth, fire, water, light, and dark magic. I think maybe there was wind in there, but I'm not sure. I think it was 5. But none of them do what you think they do. Like, for some reason, dark healing magic falls under dark magic. And, like, illusions falls under... Or not illusions, but, like... like, magical recording spells falls under earth magic. Which does not make any goddamn sense whatsoever. Like, the only magic that seems to make sense is, like, the prince's water magic because he uses ice spells all the time. And I do like when he sort of loses his temper. Like, he's very, he is a very threatening character when he loses his temper and starts going all icy on everybody. So, yeah, the magic system is just complete horse shit. It's actively infuriating how little it makes sense. I also don't like again, she's sort of got like noble privilege and stuff, but like she just does, Alicia just does stuff that it's like, why would you do that? Like, you didn't have to do that. Or not necessarily you didn't, I don't know. She is just way too eager to do things that I thought that I would think would take a lot more willpower to do, like giving up her own eye to a blind person. Now, granted, that blind person was had been a mentor to her for years, but like, I don't know, it felt like that came out of nowhere a little bit. Anyway, I think I'm running out of stuff to ramble about for this show. I've been talking about it for a while. Trying to remember if there's anything else about it. What I will say, I guess, what got me through the initial episodes where like the animation wasn't very good and everything was going too easily for Liz and Alicia, and the magic system didn't make any goddamn sense. Was just like the drama of it all, I guess. Like, you had these these episodes also, like, fly by. They are extremely well paced, which I was not expecting from this director. I believe he did the other Villainous anime, and he also did In the Land of Leodale, which I actually did a video about, and how, like, not good, like, the first couple episodes of that show are. So I think it's a combination of A, this director is getting better, and B, this is actually decent source material that he's working with. But also, like, I'm just, like, I was genuinely compelled by Alicia's motivation to become the best Villainous, despite how little that made sense in the beginning. So, yeah, I guess I'll tack on how I feel about the ending once I get to that in 5 days. Guess I'll watch something else in the meantime, or catch up on a backlog. Anyway, let's go to the final episode. Okay, that actually turned out a little better than I was expecting based on the cliffhanger. Normally I hate amnesia plot lines because they're just, I don't think there's really a lot interesting to do with them, but considering this one was just like a fake out amnesia plot line, I was like, okay, well played. And I didn't really expect it until the very end either, so, or until the the reveal, I guess. So, good on them for keeping it secret. There were a lot of like red herrings in the like penultimate episode that made me think it was going to be something else, but good twist. I like that it's like it's a pretty solid way of like having it both ways. A, she gets to be the Villainous that gets exiled to the other kingdom so that she can figure out what the fuck is going on there that's causing all the problems in her kingdom. And B, she still gets the romance with Prince Du. That was a nice, cute little kiss at the end there. Yeah. I kind of hope this gets a second season, because there's a lot that you could do with this. I doubt that it will, because I think Maho Films has done a sequel. Yeah, they did a sequel to By the Grace of the Gods. That was like a mid-level show, I think, when it aired. So, yeah, this is the first Maho Films series that I've finished. Good job, I guess. Okay, this new Villainous anime is complete. We're going to scroll not too far up, but we're going to put it... Fuck, where did I just say? Yeah, I'm going to put it right here in the number of 41 spot with a light 7. Liked that quite a bit more than I was expecting. Still very frustrating a bit overall, but had fun. Would look forward to another season. Okay, now that the season is actually like almost over, I can confirm that Ranma 1/2 did end this season, so we're going to put that in our end caps here. And we're going to move 365 days into the regular list. And also, Dragon Ball Daima is not ending this season, so we can throw that onto the bottom of this list here. So, now we are all set for the rest of this list, of which we have 26 shows left. So let's pull out the randomizer, see what we get. It's going to be number 1. Number 1 is 2.5 Dimensional Seduction. Okay, this is one of the few 2-core shows for this season that actually end this season. I saw a few people watching it. It's a ecchi cosplay kind of show. Maybe it's a little dress up darling-ish. Let's see if it is.
This one's given me real, we have my dress up darling at home energy, and not in a good way. I got 2 episodes into 2.5 Dimensional Seduction, and it's mostly kinda lame. Uh, in 2 episodes we had 3 accidental pervert moments, and they weren't even, like, good? Like, that's the thing about the show, is it's not that hot. Like, it is not... For an ecchi show, it's real... It's not tame, but it's just... They're not putting a lot of oomph into the ecchi stuff. It's just not all that enticing. So, outside of that, we have 3 accidental pervert moments in 2 episodes, and they're not funny, they're not sexy, they're just kind of like mandatory. That's a lot of this show feels mandatory. This feels like, aside from the cosplay angle, this feels like something that would have been made in like 2005 or 2008 or something. Like, and you know what? There was some good ecchi back then. Not gonna deny that, but this just isn't. This is a JC staff show attempting to do 2 cores. Bold of them to attempt that. It doesn't look bad, but it's just so very, very average looking. The girls are kind of cute. I will definitely forget about them in a couple days or weeks or something, but like, I will admit the designs themselves are very cute, but I'm just not really sold on it. Second girl's personality is fucking bonkers as shit. The most childhood friend I've seen in a while. Just completely no, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just not, it is not, no cognizance of tropes whatsoever, despite the fact that this is very obviously taking place in modern day, and they are very obviously anime fans, at least the 2 main characters are, and it's just so... Oh, there's no self-awareness. That's what I was looking for. There is no fucking self-awareness at all to what's going on here. Or if there is, it's really poorly executed. I'm mostly bored by the character interactions. It's just so very... Again, mandatory is a good word to keep coming back to. It feels like they have to do this choice. They have to make her a super otaku, and that's it. They have to do this with the childhood friend character. Like, there's like, the childhood friend character is also a model, and so she has this conversation with her, like, either agent or the modeling director or someone, where he's trying to convince her to give up on her crush? Why? What? What? That makes absolutely no goddamn sense whatsoever. And I really cannot stand the 2D only people. Like, I understand that that's a thing, but I don't get it. I'm not that far lost that I can understand that perspective, I guess. I don't know. But mostly the show is just not interesting and not sexy. And for an ecchi rom-com, that's a bit of a failure. I guess I could see the character interactions growing a little more natural and a little more nuanced as the story goes on, but like, boy, I just don't care.
Okay, 2.5D coming off the list. Let's roll again and see what we get. It's gonna be 14. What is 14? Magilumiere, Magical Girls Incorporated. Heard a lot of, there was a lot of hype about this show before the season started. Didn't see a lot of people watching it, but from the people that I did see watching it, they really liked it. I like Magical Girls. Let's give it a go.
Do you ever get, like, a decent chunk into a series and then at some point realize that you just don't care anymore? That's kind of how I feel right now. I got 10 episodes into, what is it, Magilumiere, Magical Girls Incorporated. And it's not like I didn't see the signs of it before, but like, I tried to boot up the last 2 episodes today, and I was just like, I don't care. It's not... It has, for all of its pluses, it also fundamentally fails on all of the points that would make me, like, want to continue watching the show. Because I've, like, I guess subconsciously been struggling to watch this one. Like, it is... And I think part of it is because it is... Well, this one's an Amazon Prime exclusive, and I don't have Prime, so I had to go to the cat site to get it. So, booting up individual MKVs is like one extra layer of effort in between me and binging a series. So that's part of it, but also it's just like I was just struggling to boot up the next episode, or even struggling to just like continue watching an episode I'm on. I would just like pause it and do something else. I'm not sure why I didn't drop this earlier. I guess I was just trying to give it a chance because it has some stuff that I think is interesting. First of all, I do have to point out, this is... I'm not gonna... It's not that it's not a magical girl show, but it is not a maho shoujo. Does that make any sense? This is a workplace action comedy series with magical girls as the main characters. So it's like, this is not in the same realm of something like Precure or Sailor Moon or like Madoka or something. This is much more, I guess, relaxed and like, I feel like the workplace comedy and workplace like day-to-day stuff is more important to this show than the magical girl part is, which is not an issue because I think it's got some interesting ideas to it. Like, it's definitely got, by the time episode 3 hits, it's very much like got a kind of like anti-corporate kind of vibe to it, where it's like very anti do everything for profit and efficiency and stuff, like, and it uses the elements of magical girl aesthetic to that end in some interesting ways. Like, there are some things that are more important than just getting the job done. Some, like, preserving the aesthetic of an area is important, especially like when it's a culturally historic area or something. Looking like a magical girl as you get the job done and inspiring other people to become magical girls, or just to inspire them in general, is just as important as getting the job done. So I liked those elements of it. And I like when it is just being like very small scale with its story. Like episode 10, I really liked the Genji character, this mad scientist kind of girl. I like these like the episodic storylines where it's just very contained and very like, here is another aspect of the workplace life of these magical girls and stuff. And I like the I do mostly like the world building of it all. I don't particularly care for sci-fi. What's the word I'm looking? Sci-fi aesthetic magic, if that makes any sense. Magic that looks like sci-fi stuff, and I don't like the look of it, but I like the concept of it. Like, I like that magic is basically programming. I like that idea of it. Outside of those elements, it's like it kind of fails to really grab me, especially because, boy, this show's animation is hanging on by a fucking thread. This is a show that at all times, except for the transformation sequences, at all times this show looks like it's about to fall apart. This is a bad looking show. It's got really great character designs. I love Kana's design. But like the way stuff moves, the compositing, just even like the editing gets bad at times. Like it has some really jarring cuts, especially in the second half of this show, where it's just like there was one in particular in like episode 6 or 7 or something where it's like Kana was looking in one direction, like in one area, and then it cuts to a different angle and suddenly she's looking in a completely different direction, and it's just so jarring. So this is not a good looking show. I forgot what this studio I think this is a JC Staff collab with some other studio, I think. I don't remember off the top of my head. I think it's like Eon Productions or something. This should have gone back to the drawing board in a lot of areas. Like, and I was like, the trailer for this, or the teaser for this came out like over a year ago, I think. So, or at least it was like, I think it was like 10 months ago, maybe, like almost a year ago. So this has been in production for a while. And they just didn't manage to even come out looking average. Like, this is not a good looking show, and it becomes very difficult to watch at times as a result. Like, episode 6, I think, is probably the worst looking episode that I saw. It is just bad compositing, bad shot composition, bad editing, bad camera work. It's not good. Episode 6 is also when like the character models start to fucking melt too. So yeah, that's definitely a huge downside with this series. And also like the really big moments, like the big things like that the plot sort of hinges itself on, also aren't very good. Like episode 6 into episode 7 in particular was where I was really like, oh, I don't think this show really fully understands what it's trying to do. Because like there's this sort of rival magical girl that pops up every now and again who works for the big corporate firm and stuff. And she shows up to help a job that Kana and this other girl are, like, not able to do by themselves because it just starts running out of control. The monster there just starts mutating and running out of control. And it's supposed to be the moment of, like, where Kana, like, questions whether the full efficiency for profit style actually is better. But it doesn't, like, to its credit, it doesn't just do the super cliche thing of her immediately reverting to, like, a more efficiency-centric mindset. But, because, like, I was thinking, like, if it does this, I'm just gonna drop this fucking show because this is fucking bad. But it also just doesn't really do anything with that. It, like, goes away completely for the next, like, 3 episodes. Next 3 episodes. And just does not come up again. Maybe it comes up in the last 2 episodes, but, like, it just no follow-up on that idea. And, like, it sort of turns into, like, no, I'm still right. And it's like, okay, was this supposed to be a big, like, character standing firm moment? Because it didn't work. Also, there was, like, a death fake out at the end of episode 6 going into episode 7, and it's like, it turns out that it just barely, the ice shard that hit this girl's face just barely scratched her cheek. And they tried to make, like, a big show of it by her, like, wiping the blood across her face, and that looked way more graphic than, like, what the injury actually was. So that pissed me off as well. That it was just like, no, she wasn't actually, like, injured all that much at all, actually. 'Tis but a flesh wound. Yeah, I just really struggle to get, like, the big chunks of plot. I really struggle to care about them. Like, the tech guy episode was just so fucking stretched out beyond belief. Fucking pacing just stretching it as far as it possibly could go. Which, you know what? I like the character. Green hair, voiced by Daiki Yamashita. Nerdy to the point of scaring the hoes. Close enough. Welcome back, Deku. But I like the concept of his character, and I like the beats that they hit with his backstory, even though they inserted the backstory into a spot that fucking killed the pacing of a scene. But actually, yeah, that's the but. This is not a well-constructed series. There's no, all the places where there should be through lines are either just frayed edges, or the through line is being stretched as far as it possibly can be. So this is a show with a lot of cool ideas in it. It's a show with a lot of cool concepts in it that could turn into cool ideas, but it just does not have the skill to do that effectively. This one, I just really struggled to care.
Okay, Magilumiere, unfortunately coming off the list. So close, but actually no, it really wasn't that close. I just spent way too much time on that.